Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Today, something newish, or is it? So, if you want to have a kit of the French Air Force and French Marines, l'Armée d'Air, Air Force or the Marine, carrier-borne Rafale, and of course the Rafale is their Generation 4 air superiority fighter, and it's ground attack aircraft. It's a fighter. It fulfills all sorts of roles, reconnaissance, you name it. It can kind of do it. I've always personally felt, if I'm really honest, I've always had a soft spot for this aircraft. I think it's the best looking French aircraft of all time. And the French have, let's face it, it's a strong point for their country. They've had some great looking planes like the Mirages and things, you know. But this was like a Mirage on steroids, really, and it's just got that. There's a grace and a bird-like sort of appearance to it that the Eurofighter Typhoon lacks, and is a bit chunky and a bit ugly, I think, especially around the chin intake. Here they went for a more conventional intake system, and it just makes the plane look so much more graceful and sort of almost feminine, I would say. It's a nice looking aircraft. And if you ever see them at air shows, the performance is absolutely stunning. It's just knockout, you know. Very high manoeuvrability. In fact, this is the aircraft where I've seen it do this trick a number of times. I think the RAF may have even copied this actually with their display teams, but there's a French display part, I don't know his name, but he does this thing where he does this high G display with the Rafale, and then he ends up by going into a huge loop, and when he gets to the top, and you don't see this, when he gets to the top of the loop he actually puts the gear down as it goes away from you, so you don't see, and then he comes back out and he uses his air brakes and everything, puts his flaps out, and he slows right down, and he literally just comes straight into land out of a loop. And it's got to be seen to be believed. I'll have to see if I can find you the link on YouTube, and I think that would be quite impressive for you to see that. Anyway, the reason I mentioned it may not be so new, this is the Academy 148's Rafale C, so this is the fighter version, the single seat version. However, it is in fact, in reality, a reboxing of the Revell kit from 20 years ago. So now, before you all groan and think, "Oh, I'm switching this off because we know this is going to be like, it's going to be a disaster." No, this is the one time Revell really covered themselves in glory and made the best Rafale of the lot. Now, why they had to do such a relatively poor job of the Eurofighter Typhoon, which has got loads of issues around its intakes and the usual stuff, flash and all the rest of it. But with this, they made a really nice kit. And sadly, it's really hard to get your hands on it anymore because it's not been in production for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at least, I think, maybe more. So this is the way that Academy have very cleverly decided to rebox it, and they are quite an impressive company in their own right, and they've added some very nice new decals and things for the 2012 Provence 2012 display aircraft, I think it was. So we've actually got 1, 2, 3 different options as well. So without further ado, I'll take you to look at it. So this is kit number, find it. It says 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 on the side, and then it says 2800 above it, which is kind of, sorry, 28,000, which is kind of strange. I'm not quite sure which is the correct number, but it's 28,000 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. And it says various air-to-air weapons and air-to-ground weapons, highly detailed cockpit interior and landing gear, precise engraved panel lines and rivets. So it sounds like it's going to be relatively impressive. So I'm going to zoom you in. Nice artwork on the front, as you'll have seen. And if I zoom you in on the side, you will see we have got this the Provence option. And you can see it's got this yellow tail with like a tiger on it. And then there's the EQ, the Qatar Air Force. I think that's their electronics. What's EQ stand for? I'm not quite sure. And then the Egyptian. It's home to the Egyptians. Ooh, this could end up in trouble with the Israelis. You know, who knows? Let's hope that's not the case there, because I think that they sort of seem to have found those two nations seem to have found that they can live together, even if others can't. Anyway, enough of that. And then you've got the markings there. And on the other side, we've got paint index, and it's got a big, that's quite helpful, quite a big colour conversion chart, including Humbrol, Mr. Colour, Mr. Hobby Life Colour, Testers, Revell, Vallejo and AK. No mention of Tamiya, which is a bit of a shame, because that's, I suppose they see them as a competitor, but it's a bit unfortunate really. Okay, and this was imported by Batman Europe, and yes, not one in Leicestershire. So, let us have a look at what we have got. But before I do that, I've got a slight noise issue in the background. I'm just going to tackle that. If you just excuse me 2 seconds, I'll zoom you back in so you can have another look at the kit there while I sort out my slight issue. If you bear with me for 2 seconds. Basically, I have a heating system that's jolly noisy and just needs shutting off. There we go. Solve that, hasn't it? Right, sorry about that. I don't like to do cuts and edits, as you know, so we just live with the minor inconveniences of grass trimmers and wind. We've got a lot of wind noise, by the way, behind me. Storm Debbie, I believe, is blowing in, and it's pretty rough. 50, 60 mile an hour winds we're getting here, so it's quite extreme. So, you want to see the leaves I've got on my lawn. Right, check your parts list before unsealing. Okay. I'm going to unseal this on camera, so let's hope that, that will be evidence enough, I think, for anybody. I've got some nice instructions, manual 1, manual 2, oh yes, I remember this from the A10, the manual 1, manual 2, why can't they just do one? What's all that about? Anyway, decals look very impressive, printed in Korea by DXM Decals. Okay. Right, put that down there. Let us see what we've got then. So, don't think we need that. No, I've never seen the Revell kit, so this is actually a new kit to me, as far as you know, my first experience of it. So that's going to be quite impressive. I think we'll move that because it will get in the way onto it now. I think let's just put that over there. Let's see what we have. So we'll go with part one. Part one. I moaned about it, don't I? The Far Eastern manufacturers, with the exception of Tamiya and Tsukimura. The others think it's okay to have no information about the plane at all. Nothing whatsoever. So, yeah, we've got a model kit, a load of plastic, but we don't know what the subject is, why it's of interest, or any history or anything like that. It annoys me. And people say, oh, you can do your own research. Yeah, I can do my own research, yeah. You know, that's like saying, well, you know, I want to buy a house. I want it to be. It's like, well, you can do your own bricklaying. You can go and build a house yourself. You can do anything yourself. That's what we're paying them to do, isn't it? Let's be honest. I don't agree with this attitude of you can't criticise something because they've clearly cut corners to make it easy for themselves. And I say, I'm not going to go at Academy. This is actually a gift that somebody bought for me, so I'm certainly not ungrateful, by the way. Because I've always wanted one of these. But it's just a general comment about Academy. Please start doing a little bit of research. You know, Airfix can do it, and they're a very, you know, cost-conscious company and manufacture to a price. They can do it, and Revell do it. In fairness, Revell are quite good at that. So there's no excuse for companies like Academy and Border and Great Wall Hobby and all these others just not bothering. It's part of the experience of having the kit. It's like there's nothing here selling it to me. There's nothing selling it to you apart from the box art, really, because it doesn't tell you anything on the box, does it? Why can't they tell you what the subject is and give you some background to make it interesting? How are you going to get youngsters and newcomers into the hobby when you can't even be bothered to... It's just a load of pile of plastic, isn't it, really? There's no drama, there's no... You know, there's no importance or... there is no attached gravity to the subject matter because they haven't bothered to tell you anything about it. Anyway, I'm ranting, so we'll stop that. Let's have a look at what we've got then. I'll zoom you in. Sorry, rant over. It just annoys me that, you know, why is this? It just indicates laziness to me. You know, these Far Eastern guys are usually really good at their engineering, but they just don't like communicating anything. And it's because they're terrified of getting it wrong in the translation. I'm sure that's all it is. Anyway, they've gone with a... that colour guide is then repeated here, helpfully, but it was more helpful if it had Tamiya on it, frankly. I don't know why they avoided that. It's silly. I mean, Humbrol acrylics, who uses those? Come on. Anyway, we've got a correction here. Come to that in a second. So, yeah, Academy's instructions have never been something I'm a fan of, but this is obviously loosely based on the original Revell ones. So, let's have a look. Now then, instruments going in, building up your seats, which appear to have seat belts moulded into them, so that's quite good. Then you've got your display screen type modern computer controlled instrumentation. You've got a control stick and you've got throttle control on the left there, they go in. Doesn't look overly detailed, I have to say, but we'll see. Popping in your seat therefore, and then you're going to build up the sort of, I think it's the packs where they have things like the radio and the communication system behind the pilot on like a shelf. That's going to go in there, and it also has a little arm if you're going to have the cockpit opens, this thing here, so a little arm to have your cockpit leaning open, so it opens to the side. Not my favourite design for aircraft, you know, nothing to do with Academy now, obviously we're talking about the real aircraft, but I think they're about having a sliding cabin. Oh, I don't fancy, I mean I suppose they don't need to break it because they'll go straight through it, but it just seems on a jet fighter to be a bit weird to have a cockpit that opens to the side. Anyway, we've got here the bays for your wheels, the undercarriage going in internally. Then we've got the bay for the front bay and the main bay. You've got your canards coming in here and then bringing down your the top fuselage, to which of course you have I skipped over this, but you've actually already attached your cockpit there. Then we've got our jet pipes at the back. They go in, plus your tail. It's all fairly straightforward looking, isn't it? But you have got a centre section there, like a hatch on the top. That's good because it avoids a centre seam. That's going to be good. And obviously having the top and bottom design avoids a centre seam as well down the middle of the fuselage, because it's hidden by the wings. Then we've got our intakes here, and the nose going on. Intakes on, this is the starboard side, then the port side. And then we've got our wings going on, complete with pylons on the end of the wings. You've got the warning lights, landing lights going on there. You've got a couple of lights going on the leading edge of the wing. And then you've got a couple of pylons going in underneath, ready for some weapons. It also has this addendum, which I'll just zoom you into this. There's this errata sheet where basically there's a little bit of combing that's going in on top. There's some sort of lights. I think it's a laser designator actually. This thing here, I think that's a laser designator for the weapons, which is probably in the artwork. Yes, you can actually see it in the artwork. See it there on the box. Yeah. That's the additional instructions have been added. Obviously it didn't have that originally. It's probably just it's a different variant. Then we're going to build up our gear. So we've got the main gear first. Yeah, and there's all the obviously you've got the hydraulic line detail, which looks quite good, and looks like it's weight on wheels. You've got your gear bay doors being attached there, and then you've got all your hydraulics and shock absorbing oleos going in. And it does portray it like a weight on wheel, doesn't it? So that is boding quite well. Then we're going to get onto the front, and we're going to be working on zoom out a bit. We're going to be working on the front oleo leg for the nose wheel. Well, wheels because it's two. It's a little bit Concorde-like or Mirage-like in that respect. And then you've got your what looks like flare or chaff dispenser going in at the back. You've got an arrestor hook here, because of course they use them in the French Navy, and they have an arrestor hook for emergencies anyway, in case there's a brake problem or a hydraulics issue. Then you've got your in-air refueling pitot, or probe I should say rather than pitot. Refueling probe, which is kind of fixed like a buccaneer on this one. Did they ever retract them? I can't remember, I don't think they did on the Rafale. I think it's always been more like the buccaneer, just for reliability they have it permanently out. Then you've got some framework going into the actual canopy itself, and then you've got to obviously wedge it open, have it latched to the side as I mentioned earlier, plus your windscreen's going in there, and then it shows it again in that position. Or you can have it closed, in which case it just goes on top as shown. A couple of probes and pitot heads going in under the nose here. Then we've got various weapons, pallets and pylons being constructed there. Laser guided bombs, and the rack takes 3. We've got some fuel tanks. We've got, again, it's not telling you what the names of the weapons are, and this is why it annoys me with this, again, complaining about the laziness of instructions. It doesn't tell you the name of the weapon. For us in Britain that are not that familiar, we're none the wiser. This one we know because it's the Scalp or Storm Shadow weapon, which is basically the same as the British use. That's not so bad, but we don't use this one, and I just can't remember the name of it. I should know it. It's not a magic missile, is it? Can't remember what it is. Anyway, then we carry on to Manual 2, we're into now, and yes, we've got the Storm Shadow or Scalp missile here. They look quite good. I'm glad they've been included. That's quite a bonus. You normally have to go out and buy these as aftermarket items. And you've got different optional loadouts there, of course. And then basically, okay, so the instructions too is really the colour callouts, and it's in black and white though. It's a bit of a shame, isn't it? I thought with it being such a recent kit they'd have had that in colour, but anyway. So you've got the first version, obviously the Provence, French Air Force. Then you've got the Qatari option. And then on the other side you have got the Egyptian option. Oops. Egyptian option there. Still not sure about the wisdom of sending that to Egypt, but anyway. And then you got, rather oddly again with the Academy, they do the sprue tree map is at the very end of the instructions. So there you have it. So those are the instrucciones. Would have been a lot nicer if they'd put more English in it and they'd actually, you know, put some labels and names on the weapons, etc. How big the tanks are. They don't bother doing any of that. It annoys me. It's crazy. It's doing half a job as far as I'm concerned. Right, here we have got, oh, the bag is actually open. It's an open bag. So here we've got our decals. These are printed by Academy themselves, printed in Korea. They do look very nice, I've got to be honest. They do look sharp, check it out. Okay, nice, very, very crisp. There's no excess carrier film, you know, that isn't really needed. It's just pared down to the minimum. The only thing that concerns me is the number of stencils, because there's quite a few there. Don't know if it bothers to number them, but there's a lot. Ooh, especially over here, look at this lot. Yes, that's going to keep you busy. I think I'll go with the Provence one with the tiger. I think that's the nicest looking scheme, to be honest. I do like that tiger. Although this the Qatari one looks okay. Is that the Qatari one that's got the, yeah, Qatar, I'm sure that's their flag, isn't it? With this sort of a prancing horse type of logo. That's quite attractive as well. So I don't know which one I'd settle for in the end, but they look very nice, I've got to be honest. Nothing wrong there, all good. So we'll pop those away, back in its little bag there. And without further ado, we'll have a look at the plastic. So, I have actually got the Hobby Boss. Perhaps I showed you in a comparison with the Hobby Boss kit, but I know this is slightly better. It's a little bit more detailed, and perhaps a little bit sharper. I think it's maybe a little bit easier to build as well, from what people say. So, one big bag, and there's a part full there. No, it's a bit of sprue, I think. Nothing to worry about. So, why is that? What's all that about then? We've got, oh I see, now that's quite impressive, look at that. So I thought, what's this? You've got some piece like stuck on the underside, like a little bit of self-adhesive. It's self-adhesive foam to protect the fact that they have, perhaps rather unwisely in the moulding, they've actually got an antenna sticking out. So that antenna is quite vulnerable when it's sticking out in the bag and going to get damaged. So they've actually very thoughtfully added some self-adhesive sticky foam. Now that's clever. That's thinking properly, isn't it? So that's good. Then we've got, well, right, let's zoom you out and we'll go through this properly. So we've got our the big sort of underside that you have. It's quite a wide fuselage, a big fuselage on the Rafale. Really meeting, you know, to house those twin engines, SNECMA engines, I think they are, aren't they? And then again at the top, got some really nice panel line detail here. You know, and it's not overdone. It's quite subtle, in fairness. Very, very scale-like. Lots of little hatches and panels, and refueling ports and coolant top-up ports and things like that. I'll just turn it around a bit and get a bit closer. There you go. They've done it nicely, haven't they? Don't forget, this is a Revell tooling. So actually, you know, as we said, it's really one of their, probably Revell's finest out. This, to be honest, or certainly one of them. Then we've got a seat, ejector seat there that looks really very nice. In fairness, and, you know, I'm not Revell's fan. If any of you saw me ripping shreds out of them in Let's Talk About Revell, you'll know what I mean. But that's nice, isn't it? Look at the detail there. Nothing wrong with that. And we've got the cockpit tub. Softly moulded perhaps, but it's got lots of controls and switches you can see there. Then we've got our ejector seat itself here. And as I said, you can clearly see that it's got the belts are moulded in. And you've got some nice details over here. Look at this, this is the main gear bay. With all these like oxygen bottles and things in it, and that's been very nicely moulded. That's really nice. That reminds me of the Hasegawa Corsair and things like that, where they've really gone to town with the bays, putting in a bit of extra detail and just going the extra mile a little bit. And you can see they're really moulded. It's very clean, the moulding as well. There's no nasty flash, which, you know, Revell from this sort of era sometimes could be a bit evil. I built the 1994 tooled the F-15E Strike Eagle, and that was very flashy. I have to be honest, it was a bit hideous, to be honest. I don't know if they're all like that, but I think that it's just the tool looked a bit knackered, and it was a late one I got from I only bought it there 5 years ago, and it was a bit of a battle because it was very flashy. We'll come to the clear parts at the end, I think. We always like to have that at the end in case it goes all wrong, you know. In fact, perhaps we shouldn't. Tell you what, let's get it out of the way now, because otherwise I seem to always jinx it. We've got the nose here, just dropped out. Let's just look at that first. So here's your nose. Oops. Here is the nose of the aircraft, and it's got panel lining detail in it as well, which is actually quite nice. Can we see that? See the detail? Yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah. That's good. So let's have a look at these clear parts then. See what we think of those. It's going to be very interesting indeed, actually. So I've had a couple of kits recently where I get to the end and the clear parts seem to just let them down, and everything else has been absolutely perfect. So it's a little bit frustrating sometimes. Let's see how we get on today. Okay, well, we've got a mark here. Is that just a scuff? It's a scuff. Yeah, it's got a scuff. And the actual clear parts themselves look quite nice, but there's some scuffing here. And this has just come out of a bag on its own, don't forget. But it's not helped when they put all the sprues in together, is it? Despite having that rather thin bag to protect it. There's a little bit of scuffing there, but here you've got a proper old scuff on the top. See that one there? Where my thumb is? Yeah. But the canopy does look nice and thin. It looks very scale-like, in fairness. We have got more scuffing again on this side. This is Revell. Here, can you see that there? Get more scuffing. That'll have to be polished out. But it's not a deal breaker, and I do like the fact that there's no central seam, because that is a big bugbear for me when you get even Tamiya do it. They have a central seam run down the centre. Well, there is no technical reason it has to be there. It's just the way they've chosen to mould it for cost and speed reasons usually. But you can certainly see with the Rafale, it's got a lot of big bubble canopy, lots of glass work. You've got that there is part of the canopy. It's like a framework that goes in the centre. Not sure why it needs that actually. Why it has, unless it's for cameras. There may be cameras or something looking through the window. I suspect. And then you've got lots of your lights and various housings and light lenses, leading edge and what have you, and underneath, and that laser guidance system that we talked about. And there's the gun sight here. I mean, the glasswork is actually fundamentally sound. The moulding, I think, it's just not been very well looked after since it came out of the mould. I suspect there's several areas there where there's scuffing. There's some here. There's some here, and there's some over here. So, I kind of expected that. To be honest, it's not a huge surprise, but it'd be nice not to have it, you know. I was looking at the when I was at Telford Scale Model World, I was looking at the new Tamiya F35 Lightning 2. I was looking at the glasswork on that kit. It's just unbelievable. It comes with, I think it comes with. You might correct me on this. It comes with like a yellow tinted clear part canopy set. I think it has a clear one as well. But it was absolutely phenomenal quality, no question at all. Anyway, let's zoom on to this. Let's have a look at what we've got here. We've got a big sprue with a lot of the big parts on it, like the tanks and the tails, vertical stabiliser. Now then. Again, nice moulding. This is why people like it. You know, lots of people, including Phil Flory, have recommended this kit. People that have built it all seem to say it goes together fairly well. We've got some quite nice detail. Look at these missile tails here. Those are nice, aren't they? You've got the front caps for they're for one of the missile systems, aren't they? And you've got your tailpipes here with afterburner pipe. They look very, very nice. Very, very good indeed, actually. Yeah, quite like that. And then you've got your internals here. Sorry about the wind, by the way. We've got major wind at the moment. We've got this storm, but hopefully it won't disturb you too much. On the other side, whoops. On the other side, we've got the other left side of the vertical tail, vertical stabiliser, and we've also got things like this is the mirrors that's going into the canopy. The 3 mirrors for rearward visibility, and you can see. Oh, there's been some slide moulding. Hey, look at this. Looks like slide moulding to me. That where you've got the rocket pipes at the back for the rockets on the tails. That's very nicely done. Okay, that's impressive. Over here we've got the top combing on top of the fuselage, which of course avoids a nasty seam. Some nice detail there. Look at the vents there. Those are cool. I like that. I like that a lot. And then we've got the combing on top of the front of the windscreen and the fuselage, just behind the nose. We've got these missiles with no name. I think it's magic missiles actually, but I'm not 100% sure. Then we've got the pylons, double pylons here. You have got your refueling probe here. Yeah, it's actually a nice sprue. No real issues there at all. Okay. So move that to one side. Just excuse me one moment, and we'll present you with the next one, which has got the wings on it. These sort of pallet pylons on the end of the wing, they always look rather odd, don't they, on the Rafale? There's a lovely looking aeroplane now. We've got some rather strange moulding marks here in the plastic, but they are just in the plastic. You can't feel them, they're smooth. But they do look curious, don't they? That's slightly off-putting when it catches your eye. You think, good lord, what's that, you know? I mean, look at that. Very weird, isn't it, the way the actual plastic's formed within the mould. But as I say, it's not an issue. It's not an issue at all. Lots of details there in terms of the panel details along the front leading edge. Very nicely done. We've got the underside of the wings here, and again some nice little hatches and riveting. We've got this sort of a fluted strengthening area along the back of the trailing edge. Then we've got these intakes. These are the intakes that go in underneath the engines. That's the internal part of them, and that's the external part. Nothing wrong there, all very nice indeed, and it's no flash to annoy us. Then we've got some weapons. Again, these missiles, well, these are actually the GBUs, aren't they? These laser guided bombs, which I think they're fairly generic ones actually. Probably even purchased from the Americans, I suspect, but I could be wrong. I've got some, is that flash or just a... Yeah, here we go. There's your GBUs. Nice, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, it comes with a good selection of weapons, which is cool. Instead of having to go out and buy your own, you know, aftermarket, which is always troublesome and expensive. Very nice sprue, that. Nothing wrong with that one. So that's one bag completed. That just leaves this second bag, which I need to actually open to access. Get the trusty knife out again. You never do without your trusty wraith sword. As they say in Lord of the Rings, or lightsaber as they say in Star Wars. So, ooh, this is impressive. There's some really crisp details here. Check this out. So we've got another one of those big tanks. Then we've got some fantastically detailed wheels and hubs. Look at this. I mean, that really is nice, isn't it? You see all the brake detail. You've got your nose gear there. And you have also got the nose bay. And again, very reminds me of a lot of detail in that bay. Hasegawa-ish. That's pretty good. Very nice. We've got the nose wheel over here. A pair of nose wheels. And we've got the main legs, quite chunky main legs here. What reminds me of a bird when it's landing. Here we've got what looks like I don't think it was mentioned in the instructions unless I missed it, but it looks like a thermal imaging laser designator type pod, TL pod. And then we've got lots of pylons. We've got more of these like magic missiles, and then we've got the tail hook, arrestor hook, which is nice. Lots of little linkages and braces and hydraulic actuators for the undercarriage gear. See them? There's a bit of combing there. I think that's the top combing, I think. And here you've got that laser designator device that's ahead of the windscreen. Very nice, actually. Some nice detailed parts there. I like that bay with the wiring in it. That's quite impressive. Then we have, interestingly, we seem to have another sprue. That's interesting. We seem to have a duplication going on here. Obviously we'll have to carefully check the instructions to see which one is used. But we seem to have another set of wheels. We've got a hook, a separate arrestor hook. And we've got some more combing here, like a combing panel. We've got a large pylon there. I think that's for the actual central tank. And then we've got some more rather chunky looking main gear legs, oleos. complete with the, again, hydraulic actuators and linkages for pulling up the gear. We've got the nose leg there, nose gear leg, and some more actuators here. More nose wheels there. Not sure which one you actually use. Perhaps there's a variation in different models. Got to say that the tyres look really nice, don't they? I don't know if you can get this in terms of the treads and things. They're very detailed, actually. Can you see that? Yes. Yes, I'm liking this. And then last but not least, we have got some of the very heavy duty weapons indeed, in the shape of, we've got Scalp, which is basically Storm Shadow. It's the French version of the Storm Shadow, and you've got all the parts for that here, including the wings, which seem to have, wow, they've got a pivot that actually rotate out. That's cool. So you don't just glue them in, you can actually, it looks like you can actually have the wings swinging out on the Scalp missile. That's really nice. So you can see why it's a popular kit, this. It's got a lot going for it. It's not flashy, which is what Revell normally are, especially when they're a little bit older. It's almost like they cleaned up the mould a bit, you know, before they issued it. Oh, and here we go. If you look very carefully, there's the proof. It says 2000 Revell AG. So it actually dates back nearly 24 years, almost a quarter of a century. So it ain't new, is it? But that's a nice bit of plastic, I've got to say. I said 20 odd years, didn't I, at the beginning? Yeah, I wasn't wrong. So, I'm very taken with it. I mean, everybody said it was a good kit, so I expect it to be decent. But you just wonder how a company can produce such nice stuff like this, and then such tragic kits like we've talked about with so many others, you know. Very recent Super Hornet, it's not even worth talking about, it's just a disgrace really. I mean, how on earth that ever got past any kind of QC checks, I'll never know. Where it was, doesn't go together basically. Horribly badly conceived and very badly executed. Here we've got something from nearly 25 years ago almost, and it's lovely, it's really nice. So, apart from the instructions, which Academy haven't done us any favours on, to be quite frank, what do we think of that then? Rafale C, a very, very racy jet fighter of the modern age. Well, what didn't I like? I thought the instructions were fairly poor in places. Yeah, and the clear parts did let it down a little bit. I think I'm going to go with 9 out of 10. I think that's a fair score for that. It's a nice kit though. I think its retailing is about £33–35 if memory serves me. Thereabouts. You get a lot of kit, it's quite a lot of plastic in there, and you've got lots of options with loads of weapons, which, you know, you don't get that with Hasegawa, even though you get some similarly nicely detailed parts on their kits. You know, they've really given you everything that's in the picture. You know, you've got the fancy magic missiles, I think we call them. Not to be confused with magic mushrooms. But they are, and we know that doesn't mix with flying, don't we, after the recent events. But anyway, I'm not going off at a tangent there. But yeah, you get everything in the kit, and there's a lot of stuff. In fact, you get more in the kit than is shown in that image, because you get double sets of wheels, you get the Storm Shadow Scalp missiles. So you get a lot. You get all the tanks. Absolutely fantastic. Laser guys and bombs, which are shown here. Brilliant. Such a good deal. So I think 9 out of 10 is about fair. About fair. Good value. I'd certainly recommend it to you. If you want a Rafale, and I can speak from experience because I've got the Hobby Boss one, and I think that's certainly superior to it. And that's a nice kit. This just looks a bit finer and it's got more stuff, you know. So you just get more in the box here. Good value. They always seem to give you a lot for your money, Academy, and it was the same with the A10, wasn't it? So yeah, there we go. Highly recommended kit from me. I hope you'll recommend me and give me 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up by giving me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and share the video if you enjoyed it. Thought it was an interesting one. Many people don't know that, you know, they all think that the Revell kit is no longer in production, but it's still available. This is how you get it. So if you want a nice Rafale, if you want to choose beauty over function a little bit, it's probably a bit unfair, isn't it? But it's certainly a prettier plane, I think, than the Eurofighter Typhoon. Great aircraft though that is. Something very, as I said, feminine and graceful about this. It's almost swan-like in some respects, like a bird. It almost reminds me of a bird's beak a little bit, the nose as well. Very nice aeroplane. Lovely kit. There you go. So thanks very much for watching. Till next time. Thanks for all your time you've taken to watch the video. Stay safe, look after yourselves. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.